Hi, my name is Ashish, and in this video we will see how to design hybrid DNS solution for on-prem and Azure workloads. Now this architecture works for users and other systems that are connecting from on-premises and the public internet. I'll quickly pull up my whiteboard and start making the drawing. All right, I'll first of all make this. This is an on-prem. All right, this is my on-prem infrastructure, and I have a DNS server. I have on-premises users. I have a secondary DNS server that can be a domain controller as well, and this is the on-prem firewall or network device. Okay, and let's say this is my hub subscription. Okay, and in my hub subscription I have enabled the Azure Bastion public IP so that it can connect, or it can accept the incoming connections. Okay, I have created the Azure Bastion subnet here. I have a private endpoint subnet here as well. Okay, it is 10.0.20/24, and then I have Azure Bastion, which is 10.3.0/24. I have a gateway subnet with which this is connected to my hub subscription. All right. Then I have DNS server as well, and it is hosted under the shared service subnet. Okay, and you can enable DDoS protection on this if you want to. Okay, then I have one disconnected subscription. So this is my private endpoint subnet. Okay, and with this private endpoint subnet, I have connected one disconnected subscription which is not connected to the outside world. Okay, here. Then I have multiple subnets here. Default, one machine specific subnet, one app gateway subnet, so on and so forth. For example, I have the app gateway as well inside this subscription. Okay, and then just below it, or I'll create one more subscription which will be a connected subscription, right? And this will be connected to this network through Vnet Peering. Okay, so this is a rough diagram that you can create. Then I have multiple subnets in this subscription as well. I have a default subnet. Okay, I have an app gateway subnet as well. All right, now when you see this drawing and you see this hub subscription, you see this disconnected subscription, and let me write it down. You see this disconnected subscription, and this is connected because you see the Vnet peering going on from here to here. Now the reason we are using disconnected subscription because it will be accessed using this private endpoint. I'm really sorry for the bad handwriting here. Now, let me explain you the workflow. Now, on-premise network, when you see this on-premise network, the on-premise network represents a single data center that's connected to Azure over an express route or a VPN. Okay, this link is a connectivity link. Now, then you have these DNS servers. These DNS servers represents two DNS servers on the on-prem, which have the DNS server installed and that are acting as the resolver or forwarder. Now, the DNS servers are used for all computers in the on-premise network as DNS servers. And we need to create the records on these servers for all endpoints in Azure and on-premises. The gateway would represent either a VPN device or an express route circuit, as I mentioned before. Then you have the hub subscription. Now, when you see this hub subscription represents an Azure subscriptions that used to host connectivity, management, and networking resources that are shared across multiple Azure hosted workloads. The best practices would be to have Bastion in the hub virtual network for remoting to virtual machines in the hub, and spoke VNets from the public internet, right? So this is connected and this is connected. I can use this Bastion to remote into these hub VMs and the VMs in this spoke network because it has a Vnet peering. Okay, then you have a private endpoint subnet that we mentioned here. This is called the private endpoint subnet. Let me use this one. The red one is my private endpoint subnet, which hosts private endpoints for Azure hosted workloads in the VNets that are not peered to the hub. Okay, because this is a disconnected subscription which is not peered to this hub subscription. So there is no peering here. We only have peering here. All right. Then you have the gateway subnet. You have shared services subnet. Then you have a connected subscription. Okay, let me use this. Then you see this connected subscription. Okay, it represents a collection of workloads that require a virtual network and connectivity back to the on-premise network. Because this is a subscription connected through the site-to-site VPN or the express route circuit, and you have this Vnet peering here with this spoke subnet. So this can be connected. This VM here can be reached out from here because of this and this. All right. Now then you have you can have web virtual machine scale set in the default subnet, right? You can have a load balancer which provides access to the workload that are behind the load balancer, right? So IP address of the load balancer in the default subnet must be added to access the workload from Azure and from the on-premise data center, because that public IP would set the connection back to the VMs that are behind the load balancer. I will make a separate video on the load balancer, but in here I'm just trying to explain the hybrid domain name system resolution solution in Azure. Okay. Then you would have you can have the application gateway subnet. You can have a public IP that will be used to access the sample workload from the public internet. Okay. Now, when you have a disconnected subscription, it represents a collection of workloads that do not require connectivity back to the on-premise data center, because they would use the private link service. They would not use the public link service. Okay. You can also have a web virtual machine scale set or a load balancer on an app gateway subnet or an app gateway or Azure Bastion subnet here as well. Now, the components that are the main requirements or minimal requirements, right? You should know how the Azure Virtual Network works, the fundamental thing, right? which is a fundamental building block of your private network in Azure. You should know how Azure Bastion works. You should know the configuration deployment of VPN gateway, private link. And if some client requires, or there is a requirement for you to have a load balancer or an app gateway, right? You should know the deployment, how these works with this kind of setup, right? So this is what I wanted to explain when it comes to hybrid designing and configuring hybrid domain name system solution with Azure. I hope this was informative for all of you. If you have any further queries, please mention them in the comment section, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you. Have a good day.